Cool. So hi, I am Aakash. I am a software developer at Microsoft, and I've joined recently. This is something that I built in my last startup. So this is related to protecting your media on the web. So we've seen a lot of videos, lot of images, lot of other types of assets on the web, right? So in today's talk, I'll be talking about how do you protect this content. So if you at your company, right, you've created a website and you have a use case where you want to protect your content digitally. So what are the possible ways which we can look into when we are trying to protect this content? Cool. Moving ahead. So I'll talk about what the perception is and what's the reality is. So the reality is that you can't protect your content entirely, right? Because once your content is rendered on the browser, which means it's already in the cache. So you can kind of try to bypass or minimize that, downloading of that content, right? So I'll take Netflix as an example here, and we'll begin with trying to prevent users from downloading our video content. So before I move ahead, do you guys have like any guesses how Netflix kind of tries to protect their content? So have you ever tried to download a Netflix movie, or any guesses like what streams Netflix uses, or what's the technology behind Netflix, or how it kind of protects its videos, movies, whatever? Any guesses, guys?
Lot of copyright streams are there, I believe. DP, some formats are there, I remember, which if they infuse a license into it, right? So that even if somebody has taken it, they are legally bound to take an action if they get to know. So that is what.
Right. So that's partly correct that you have copyright in place, right? So which means that even if someone like is able to download your videos, you can certainly take legal actions against them and say that, hey, that is part of our copyright and you cannot just download and use our content. So any idea? So have you guys ever tried to like download or maybe record a Netflix video or movie? Are you guys broke like me, maybe? No? All right. So I'll go into a demo and we'll watch a Netflix movie together. And what I'll do is right now I'll try to share a Netflix movie on Zoom chat only, and we'll try to. You have a question?
When I try to record a movie, so let's say we are recording and we played a movie on Netflix. The screen will go blank.
Yes. Yes. So let me go ahead, and for the people who don't know, let's go to Netflix. And yeah, let's try to watch Friends. So what do you guys see there? So if I show you my laptop, this is what I see. And this is what you will see if I try to like record or screen share my video. So how is the browser doing this? Any guesses?
Maybe they are encoding the video and that video will be only playing their player. They decrypt that through that some code.
How will you verify that someone is trying to record your screen? Don't have any such information, right?
Yeah, but they made some their website to not to record screen. Like in Instagram, you can see that when you swipe up top, there is like privacy talk started. So you can't take screenshot, you can't take record the video.
So in Instagram app, you have like app level permissions, which kind of prohibits the user to take screenshots. So there you can access the OS APIs, right? But
yeah.
in web, you can't. So how if you are a Netflix engineer, how will you ensure that, any users who are coming to Netflix are not able to record this. Any other guesses?
Not sure, but like, will they look for any events that have been fired?
No, there are no such events related to this.
So during recording or streaming, a lot of CPU is used. So there are some process. I have tried to prevent this myself for one of our softwares, where we had a requirement that if someone is trying to record, we should be masking sensitive
I
information.
think the samosa people are still busy there, but yeah, please go ahead.
So we should be masking sensitive information if even if user tries to say this was Zoom, but Mac has a recording tool. So what if you try to record with that? It's hard to detect, like you mentioned, but there are changes in the patterns of memory utilization and CPU utilization, which is not 100% accurate, but still you can detect if some
But that utilization depends on the type of machine you're using. If I'm using a Mac, you're using a Dell laptop, your consumption might be higher than mine.
Yeah, it's not 100% accurate, but like you said, I'm not sure if browser has any, because browser doesn't have context to the OS level to detect that it has.
Right, right.
It can always detect the display, that on what display am I running the code. Is that capability? I do not know. So that's why I'm just guessing.
So again, you're partly correct. So this is what we want to talk about. And the entire talk that I'm going to give today is around this, that we are going to build one such application which allows us to make such videos which cannot be recorded or taken screenshot of by others. Cool? All right. So this is basically the technology that Netflix uses. It's being used by many of the popular apps which provide courses to creators. And this is what I also have implemented in my last startups with my team members. So DRM basically stands for Digital Rights Management, right? So using DRM, what you can essentially do is you will have certain DRM provider. Let me go to the diagram. So how essentially DRM works is that you will have a DRM provider. So if I name a popular ones, you have Widevine from Google, right? Microsoft has PlayReady, and you have Fairplay from Apple, right? So these providers, and then you have other third-party providers also, like VideoCypher, Pelicon, and many others. So what essentially happens is that these people have come together to say that, okay, we will build something called as CDM. So CDM stands for Content Decryption Module. And what this CDM will do is it will act as a black box, right? And it will say that, okay, your DRM is there. So with your DRM will act as a server, and it will provide a license key to your browser, right? So DRM responsibility is to send a license key, and you have to encrypt your stream. So there is something. So in videos, you can either have an entire blob data URL, or you can have streams. So whenever we do YouTube streams or live streams, we basically don't download or see the entire video, but we see very chunks of it. And as soon as the video continues, the browser downloads more of those chunks, and then the video continues to play, right? So usually those streams chunks are not encrypted. But here, if you want to implement a DRM, you have to create something called as encrypted streams. Now, once you have your video encrypted, right, your browser, what it will do is it will take this license key from the DRM server. It will have the encrypted video URL, and it will pass that to the CDM. Now, CDM, which is acting as a black box, what it will do is it will connect with your OS. So it's the responsibility of your browser, right? Be it Safari, be it Chrome, to ensure that whenever your web application is trying to implement DRM, its responsibility is to disallow the users from taking such actions like recording the videos or taking screenshots and stuff like that, right? So now what the CDM will do is it will take this key ID and it will decrypt those chunks and send it back to your application, and users can view it. And now since the browser knows that my CDM is enabled, the browser will know that, okay, my CDM is active. This means I have to prohibit all these user actions, which is to take screenshots or to disallow users from recording videos and things like that, right? Okay.
CDM indicate to the browser that some recording is being done? How does that indication happen?
So it's part of, so you don't have any event listeners or anything of those sorts for it, right? CDM will act as a black box, and this is the implementation of your browser itself. So if Chrome is there, right? Chrome as an application will internally know that any content that is playing on one of my tabs, right, have CDM enabled, is accessing my CDM. So it's the browser's responsibility to disallow the users from taking screenshots or doing recording on that particular tab. So it has nothing to do with your web app. Your web app only has to ensure that you implement DRM, you send a DRM encrypted video to the player, and you ensure that you have a proper DRM server setup, which will provide you the license key. So that's the only thing you need to take care of.
How does the browser come to know that somebody is recording or playing? Whatever is prohibited. How does the browser come to know? I know browser can prevent, but to prevent, firstly it has to know something, or does it have some inbuilt settings which are automatically made in advance?
Yeah.
Which will prevent any.
Yeah, so this DRM thing is developed like long back, but it is now actively being worked on. This is part of the implementation of the browser itself. So the browser team, whoever is the Chrome team or the Safari team, has to ensure that they prohibit this as a feature in the OS level. So you have different levels of security in DRM. You have L1, L2, L3, and they basically talk about to which extent you can provide the security to the client, which is your application, right? So it can be OS level, it can be hardware level, and things like that.
CDM is part of OS or browser?
So CDM is part of the browser, and using CDM, the browser talks to the OS to make sure that these actions are prohibited.
Applies only for media, right? This applies only for media, right?
Yeah, it applies only for media.
So, like, if you want to protect something else, any other sensitive content,
We will
text,
talk
PDF,
about
or
that
anything.
in the coming slides. Okay. So let's see it in action first, and then maybe we'll able to. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I don't need the mic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is basically the license key which I talked about. So this you will get from your DRM provider. Now, once you have the license key, you have your web application, right? It will send that key ID and the license decryption key from your DRM server. The CDM will use these things to basically decrypt the video chunk by chunk and send it back to your application. And then your application can further render the video. So downloading, if I'll show you in my network tab, which I'll do in the coming part. So these streams are basically encrypted, which means even if you are able to download something, it's a very small chunk, right? And that chunk also is encrypted, which means even if you are able to download, you won't be able to get anything. So only your CDM has the access to basically decrypt these videos. You cannot manually decrypt these. Yeah, this application is the player. Anything else? So it depends. So basically, Widevine, Fairplay, they provide trainings to developers. So you have to pass their exam certificate. So then you can host it on your servers as well. But if you want a quick setup, you can use other third-party tools like Pelicon, Video Cipher. They've already collaborated with these platforms like Widevine, Fairplay, and they will give you direct APIs so you can consume it. It's a simple key ID, simple key system ID. I'll show it in code. It's a simple string which you will have, nothing much.
Decrypt the video.
Yeah, yeah. Yes.
Can we bypass it? Like,
So that's the idea, that you should not be able to bypass it. I have one use case which I'll show towards the end.
Is this a asymmetric encryption and decoding technique is what we are talking? Is it? That's why the key ID, what you mentioned, is a public key.
Are the instructions that go to the OS from the browser via the CDM? What are those OS instructions? Like it will those instructions will prevent recording and all, but specifically in the OS, what is the
So I'm not exactly sure of those. I might have to research as well. But as far as I know, that once your CDM is enabled, your browser knows that someone is trying to do these actions which are prohibited. And all these features, so it's a combined thing between the browser and the OS. So both your OS and your browser has to support these things to be able to provide you with the security, right? So your CDM ensures that, so using your CDM, you can basically actually, I'll show it in code. You can see like what type of DRM is provided or supported in your browser. And you will also have a huge list of what OS supports what level of security in your DRM. Content decryption module. Yeah, module. Okay, so I'll quickly show you the demo. Yeah, so this is my local server. And to top it off, I've done a small tweaking here. And so you're not able to see anything, right? So even I am not able to see anything. But once I stop the recording, I'll be able to see my video. So that's the idea here. And I have a small watermark here. So the tweaking is that I have created this watermark, and using mutation observers. Yeah. So let's say even if someone is trying to record uh, this video from their phones, you cannot prevent that, right? So the idea here is that we will place the user credentials in this watermark. Like let's say you have a sign up page, your user logs in. So you can put their credentials over there. So even if they are trying to record from their phone, they will, won't be able to do so because their name is right there. So you will essentially know like who is trying to record. But this can be removed. So let me go ahead and try to remove this. So first of all, I have disabled right click on this, which means I cannot like just inspect it. But even if I go to the elements, yeah, so I found this, and what I'll do is I'll try to delete this node entirely. But whenever I do that, my entire page refreshes. So this is done using mutation observers. So this is something I think most of you should know about. Mutation observers are nothing but they basically observe any changes in your DOM, right? So using mutation observers, you can actually check what nodes in my DOM are actually changed. This is something that is largely used by your React app also to verify and see like after one state changes or when your component re-renders, what are the changes in my DOM that has been reflected, right? So using the mutation observer API, I have find out like if my DOM is, if my node is being deleted from the DOM or not. And once if it's deleted, I do window.reload. So that's the idea. Cool, I'll quickly jump. I don't have much time. I'll quickly jump to the code. And I'll show you an overview. I have the public link also ready, and I'll share you the GitHub code as well. Is this visible or should I zoom in? Zoom in. page gets reload, so you cannot essentially record. That's the idea. He's saying 5 minutes. All right, I'll quickly show you the code. So I have a simple player here, and this is one simple mock API which I have created. So this mock API will try to get me the token from my DRM provider, right? And then here is my main code, which basically has the watermark text, and you need to enter the MPD file. So you can use MPD or M3U8, basically any streaming format or HLS, to basically provide your encrypted video. And this is one simple thumbnail which is there. That's okay. Let me go to the main code. So this is the code of your main DRM player. So if I'll go, so I have used Video.js for it. Video.js is a library for videos. It has multiple plugins to basically support such type of content in your player, right? So this is my watermark remover observer. So I have mutation observer here. And what it basically does is tries to find any node with this particular ID. And if it's able to find one, it will call this on detach callback, right? And in my on detach callback, I have written this that if my watermark is detached, you just do window.location.reload. So that's the code where I'm trying to listen to any changes in my watermark node, right? Apart from this, I have initialize DRM and plugins function. So what this essentially do is it takes help of this Pelicon helper file, where first it basically checks your browser, like which is the browser that you are using, right? And after that, we have a list of supported DRMs, which is Widevine, PlayReady, and FairPlay, and it will try to find out. So this is the media key system access. So this API basically uses your CDM to find out which type of DRM is supported in your browser. So once you get to know that, you can verify, okay, that in Safari FairPlay is, supported in Edge or Mozilla. Your PlayReady is supported in Safari FairPlay is supported in Chrome. Widevine is supported. So that's been done here. And then you have very simple configuration that if your DRM type is FlarePay, you basically, so this is the manifest file which I showed in the diagram. So you just have to add this JSON and pass it as a SRC to your video player component. Yes, yes. So similarly, you have for PlayReady and for Widevine. And once we have that, I have, wait, hold on. Yeah, so here I'm checking the supported DRM type. Once I've checked, I'm initializing all the plugins. And once my player is ready, I'm calling the onReady player callback. And here, there is also a part where I have to initialize EME plugins. So Video.js has a plugin called Video.js contrib EME, which basically it's an add-on plugin to your Video.js library, which ensures that your encrypted video is being parsed correctly in your Video.js player. So yeah, that's mostly the entire code. Cool. Yeah, so now I want to talk about what about other types of assets, like what about images, what about PDFs? How do you basically ensure that these types of medias are also prevented from being downloaded or accessed? So the thing is that there is no direct way of preventing the users from accessing these medias. But what you can do is there are certain go arounds around it. Uh, Talking about some of those, you can add watermark to your images, which is a very common practices used by most of these images or asset providers like FreePic and things like those, right? Or what you can do is there's another way where what they do is, since your browser is very optimized to render all these images, so what you can do is you can essentially render a very small size of your image, right? You can render that, and only the users who are your paid users and things like that, who should be able to access the content, only those users, once they get the access to it, should be able to download the actual format of your actual size image or PDF or things like that. For PDFs also, if you have option, let's say to render, you have to render the PDF in your browser itself. In that case, there are certain libraries which you can use, which will convert your PDF into an image base, and then you can use the same tech there which you were using for the images. So yeah, that's also there. And I've created a small quiz, guys, related to what I've talked about. So can you guys join this and let me know like if you're able to join? If you're not able to join, I'll just show the questions here and maybe you can answer those. And there's my friend here, Narendran. He can basically take your email and name and I will send you goodies. All right. No, so those are basically t-shirts. I will have to collect the data, like what's the size. Cool. Are you able to join this quiz? Yeah.
This DRM, is it a part of the, like, how to implement it? Implementation. Suppose Netflix has an API for videos. If we use the API in our application, can we record? For example, let's suppose that they had some APIs. Then
So you're saying that you have an API which will basically give you the license key, right? For you to basically use that in your player. So you will have to make a custom player. You will need to have their license key, and that's the entire part of it. So if you have the license key, there are other things which are being protected using DRM, which are that the stream chunks that you are trying to get, right? Whenever you request those stream chunks from the server, it will ensure that they are coming from a header or a domain which is Netflix domain only and not yours. So there are certain other types of checks as well for you to not get access to those videos. Guys, is there anyone who is not able to join this? What's the issue? You can use my phone maybe. Yeah, you have to log in. Yeah, just small 5 questions. Anything. Even I haven't tried this for like long time. If it's like creating issues, I can just directly share questions. That's also fine with me. I'll do that. Working? Yeah, hold on. Yeah, hold on. So this should be the code and this should be like the link. Guys, if you're facing issues, in the respect of time, I can just show you questions maybe. Everyone is good? Okay. I'm starting the quiz. Okay. So you have to answer the questions and it will just show the leaderboard here. And whoever the top 3 participants, whoever those are, will get goodies, is the idea. So if you have any doubts in any of those questions, you can ask me. We have Bharge on top here. Some of us are like, fuck the quiz, we'll have samosas. We have Harshit on the top. Come on, guys, it's close. I'll give you like 1 more minute. Well, I'm going to end this now. All right, so we have Deepak, Anindam, and Nikhil. Guys, please have a round of applause for those. Thank you. Okay, so you can connect with me on this link, bit.ly/reactdlrakash, to connect with my socials. So we also have hiring in Microsoft. So please do reach out to me if in case you want any referrals. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you. You've been a lovely audience.